Good morning, everybody. It's Bear with BearIndependent.com. I, several months ago, shot a video called World War III, the coming World War, something to that effect. And I wanted to reach out to y'all in the Bear Nation today and beyond this, beyond the Bear Nation. Please share this out amongst your friends, family, tribe, mag, church, whatever. And go through kind of line by line just a little bit of the intel that we've compiled over the last just handful of days out of the Bear Daily Brief, which I hope you're tuning in for, the Bear Daily Brief. But if you're not, this is a portion of what you're missing. But essentially, war is coming. War has been coming for a while. I think it's much closer to coming now than it has been. And I just wanted to go through some of these tasty intel nuggets that y'all have been sending to intel at BearIndependent.com and show you just a little bit of what's going on here. Now, as previously stated over and over and over again at this channel, there's three things that I'm really paying attention to on a daily basis. The first is food shortages. Okay? Now, prior to this, we got the sun right there. How's that? Is that better? There we go. Prior to this, we were tracking on 2019, no plant 2019, right? Grand solar minimum, lots and lots of wetness, people being unable to plant, unable to harvest, bad yields. Okay, now, literally, food is rotting on the vine, rotting on the tree, being plowed under. There's nobody to pick it. In other places, there's nobody to plant it. You can't get it. Meat processing plants are closing. Just bad news, just bad news. So food scarcity, right? Economic instability is my second thing. Man, if we're not there, we're knocking on the door of it, right? And then because of that, civil unrest. Those two things tend to lead to the third thing, which is civil unrest. Now you add into that the possibility for, and boy, I hope we're not there, but the possibility for shenaniganry when it comes November, when it's election time. You're gonna amp that civil unrest way up. That can cause tyranny actual, like legit, like jackbooted thugs in the streets, nice MRAP, sheriff's department, yada, 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 right? And then all of that creates the opportunity to never let a crisis go to waste, right? We are being put on the war footing right now. We are being prepared mentally, emotionally, physically prepared, conditioned for the concept of war. I believe the concept of war with China. Why war? Well, we'll get into that a little bit, why war, as the answer to what we're seeing right now. But there's only so many options, okay? So we've got the, when diplomacy fails, right, diplomacy is our first option. War, overt war, is our second option, and then covert is our third option. And we're trying option one right now. We've been trying option one for a long time. I guarantee you option three is in play and has been in play for a long time. Guarantee you. But if those two things, option one and option three, fail, option two, we're headed there. War with China. Now, why do I say all these things? Chinese vessels, a Chinese vessel has sunk in a second Vietnamese fishing vessel in the South China Sea. This happened yesterday, I believe. Today is 29 April 2020, the time of this recording. Okay. So that's the second time in 6 months, I believe, that a Chinese vessel has sunk a Vietnamese fishing vessel in the South China Sea. Overt aggression in the South China Sea by China. The US, Australia, China, the Philippines, Malaysia, and others all have ships and ships of war in the South China Sea right now. It's good old Mexican standoff. Everybody just kind of standing there looking at each other, seeing who's going to pull the trigger first. That's dangerous because sooner or later, somebody pulls a trigger. China says the U.S. is lying through their teeth about COVID-19 originating in China. Lying through their teeth. That is their official rhetoric. Now, we also have to understand that to the extent that the media is the fourth wing of the government, the fourth branch, right? You have the executive, the judicial, the legislative, and then kind of the media is supposed to be, not even supposed to be, thought to have been, perhaps idealized by some within the media to be the fourth branch that holds all three of those accountable. Of course, we all know that that's not the case. It doesn't work that way. And if it ever did work that way, they were always at least a little bit skewed, right? There was always at least a little bit of bias, which is fine because people are people. But now it's just overt bias, right? However, you have the official narrative from China being that the U.S. is lying through their teeth. And of course, the official narrative in the United States is counter to whatever Trump has to say, right? But the official dictatives of the Chinese state-sponsored media is that the U.S. is lying through its teeth about the origins of COVID-19. Now, 6 or 7 states in the United States have class action lawsuits against China for losses due to COVID-19. 6 or 7 states, I believe it's 7 now, but it's at least 6, have class action lawsuits against the country of China for damages incurred due to COVID-19. China owns $50+ trillion. I believe that's the accurate number. It's kind of hard to get an accurate number on that, but it's somewhere around $50 trillion of U.S. debt. They own it. They've also dumped somewhere around $50 trillion into the United States stock market. Kind of a ticking time bomb there. China dominates global manufacturing. We all know this. Made in China. Anybody else been having a hard time with their 2-day Amazon shipping turning into more like 6 weeks Amazon shipping? Guess we didn't really need that stuff anyway, huh? China dominates global manufacturing. And by the way, I typically have no notes for a video. I have 4 pages of notes here for this one, so I'm trying to cruise. I generally do stream of consciousness, but I wanted to make sure we covered the majority of these bases. So if China's dominating global manufacturing and ports are closed or have vastly reduced capability and capacity, and China's not exporting, and we're not really friends with China anymore, okay? So this is actually a prime opportunity if you're a United States manufacturer, small business, get your people back to work and start making cool things or making just necessary things. But hopefully we will have a heyday of American manufacturing again. We'll get back to that at the end of this. China owns roughly 38% of the United States farmland. Repeat, China owns roughly 38% of farmland in the United States. I could see something like the Defense Production Act saying, no, not anymore. Should the government own farmland? No, I don't think so. But what's worse, China owning it or the government owning it? That's kind of a rhetorical question. I think they're both bad. Which flavor of bad do you want? China is building a new warship right now, despite being in lockdown. There is reporting from multiple sources that coronavirus, COVID-19, is confirmed to be man-made. And that because it is confirmed to be man-made, it is believed to have come out of a lab in Wuhan, China. Australia is asking for an official international inquiry into the origins of COVID-19. Why? War footing again. Because they'll probably try the judicial here. You know what? They're going to go to court. China ain't going to pay it. China doesn't have the money to pay it. They just, printed $100 trillion or yuan or whatever their, particular brand of fiat is, and put a bunch into our stock market and put a bunch into their state-owned capitalistic businesses that are all failing. So yeah, Australia is like, hey man, where did this thing come from? Because somebody's gonna pay for this. Okay, with what? We're all gonna go back to wampum, shiny beads, bro, and parts of shells, because Yeah, hashtag economic crisis, bro. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedoms has noted that the Chinese Communist suppression of religious freedom poses a global threat. Now, frankly, I have a hard time thinking that any U.S. Commission on anything is terribly concerned with religious freedom. However, yet again, another posturing of war with China. One more grain of sand to tip the scales towards war with China. Several thousand, if not tens of thousands, of Chinese-made COVID-19 tests have been confirmed to be producing false negative test results. So the test to test for COVID-19 that's manufactured in China is telling people they don't have it when in fact they do have it. This has been reported by multiple sources. China says the spread of COVID-19 in the U.S. is like, quote, that of a primitive society. Yeah, more state-sponsored blah, blah, blah from China. The spread of COVID-19 in the U.S. is like that of a primitive society. And of course, we can't expect the United States to have responded near as well as we did in China, because China, of course, we're a very advanced civilization, technologically advanced. Yeah, this is more war footing. One more grain of sand. The UN Security Council, David Beasley, says COVID-19 will create food shortages of, quote, biblical proportions and famine for more than 250 million people within months. The UN Security Council, right? Because food is power. How many times do you need me to tell you all that? Food is power. The ability to feed yourself is just as important as the ability to protect yourself. In fact, if you can't feed yourself, what are you protecting? So now the UN's getting in on it. They're like, yeah, this is bad. Hey, wait a minute. Where did that COVID-19 thing come from? Oh, right. China. Kim Jong-un over there in North Korea. Is he dead? Is he not dead? Is he just taking a long nap? What's going on? We don't know. But remember, Korea is a Chinese puppet state. North Korea. South Korea is an American puppet state. Proxy war. Korea was a proxy war. The Korean War was a proxy war between the United States and China. Keep an eye on that. COVID-19 wrongful death suits are already starting in the U.S. and will ultimately blame China. Wrongful death, meaning that I work for, hypothetically, Walmart, and I'm an essential worker, and you made me go to work, and I got COVID-19, and my cousin died, and I'm suing you, Walmart, and Walmart's like, you can sue us all you want. We're going to push the blame onto China, where this thing came from, hypothetically speaking. Once again, one more grain of sand to tilt the scales towards war with China. Again, why war? Because when diplomacy fails and the third option is ineffective, that leaves war. War, as stated repeatedly at this channel, when you boil it down to its basics, is nothing more than the allocation of certain resources against the defense of or acquisition of other resources. War is a game of resources. What can we afford to spend in money, materiel, and lives to defend or acquire other resources? Now that is deeply calloused to a lot of people that don't get it, but that's the way it is. That's what war is. What can we afford to spend? Cost-benefit analysis. What can we afford to spend in money, materiel, and lives to defend these resources or acquire those resources? That's what war is. When resources get tight, you get war. Must we once again go into the discussion on economic depression, civil unrest, food shortages, right? See what's happening in the markets right now with oil, right? Defense of certain resources, all of which, of course, is tied back to economics. And so, with war, what are the potential benefits of war, depending on where you stand, on which side of the line you're on, and on which team you're on? Well, war is a wonderful way to mobilize your home team. and it distracts the populace, okay? The focus is over there, it's not over here. People are much more willing to make personal sacrifices for their economic situation, for their material, for their freedoms during times of war. Kind of a take one for the team. We got to go over there and kill those guys, so things are going to be a little bit harder here. Cool. So it shifts focus, it serves as a distraction, and it mobilizes the populace here against a threat over there. It allows the justification of shortages here. Well, of course we don't have any meat. We're fighting a war effort. We got to feed our boys over there. Of course we don't have any grain, man. We got to make sure that the men and women of the United States Armed Forces are well fed over there because we got a war to fight. It also increases manufacturing jobs here. It allows us to spin up our economy, to make the things, the beans, the bullets, the band-aids that it takes to wage a war, right? The NRAPs and the A-10s and the Predator drones and the blah, 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 and the intermediate cartridges and yada, yada, plates and blah, 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 the stuff. The fodder of war, all the things that it takes to feed the machine. Where's that stuff going to be made? Not in China. I guess it'll have to be made here. So, with all that, again, I have a video, World War III. Divine Numerics in the Coming World War. Divine Numerics in the Coming World War. You might check that video out. There's also a book by the exact same name by Dr. Michael McGee. Recommend you check that book out as well. We've had a war coming with China for a long time, and I think this is going to be the thing that gets us into that war. Now, to be clear, I don't want a war with China. However, I think if we're going to have a war with China, let's have the damn war. Let's do it. If I know I'm going to get in a fight with somebody, I'm not trying to avoid that person. I'm going to go find them. I'm going to punch them in the face as hard as I can. Or, gotta censor this because we're on YouTube. Take them to the ground and beat them about the face and head and body until they are no longer a threat. Okay, if there's a conflict coming, let's have that conflict. Let's get it over with. Let's do this thing. I don't want a war, but if we gotta have one, let's have one. Get it over with. Rip that Band-Aid off and on to the next thing. So I hope that all these indicators become nothing more than that, indicators. That this all shakes out, man. That yes, politics does work, diplomacy does work, and the economy does spin back up, and meat shortages do go away, and we do get crops in the ground, and we do have elections, and things do simmer down again. However, hope is not a strategy. And so actionable for us, for the Bear Nation, and for everybody else within the sound of my voice is act as if war is coming. Keep preparing. It is still the time to stack food to the rafters. It is still the time to make food appear up out of the ground by the sweat of your brow, the blood of your hands, and the blessing of your Creator. It is still time to form deep and meaningful relationships with people of like mind. It is still time to train. It is still time to do all the hard things now, because with war comes a whole lot of more dire circumstances here than the vast majority of us are used to. Keep prepping, y'all. We're not afraid of anything. And we meet our anxiety with action. Keep doing. Do everything you can to mitigate the potential damage that this war will have for you and your loved ones. And then whatever you can't do, whatever you have no control over, He does. He's sovereign over that. So you give that to Him and you quit worrying about it. I hope this message has been a blessing to you, Bear Nation. Shalom.